Good. Oh no, what happened to my... There it is. Good evening. Just getting set up. Alright, so what do we got? I'm trying to think about, one of the things that I'd like to do is create a move that is kind of a CPU auto-aim assist move. And I want to see how that works. Alright, let's think. So what do I want this move to do? Alright, so let's see. Purpose of move is to have a slow but precise ball hit, which practically guarantees a score. Alright, so how do we want this to work? Basically what it'll do is when you hit the ball's going to go straight towards the goal. So how do we want this to work? We want to have a slow charge up time. So this always happens. Slow charge up time. Let's see, a fast hit. Let's see, questions. What happens in the air? What happens to movement? So it'd be like, well, if we move, you can still move your character around. What's that going to be like? So we'd use like an effect to charge up, and then the person would execute the animation. Should we move the character? Like, what sort of ability is this? I think this is one where the idea behind it is you'll charge it up and then use it, but we want this to be easily counterable. We don't want this to be just, excuse me, the only way to win is, you know, to be holding down this button all the time and then unleash it as kind of like a held punch. We want this to be something that actually stops you. So the question is, do we want this to teleport the user or to have any sort of movement available for the player? Or do we want to totally stop? Alright. See, the other question is, do we have any animations for this? Alright, well, we do have a throwing animation. We do have a throw hold animation. So we have kind of this throw low. So I could actually start using this. I like the idea of using kind of a held action. Yeah. So if we go to our character, we add a new animation here. Let's call this one aim shot charge. And then we got aim shot ground. Let's just do aim shot. This is throw L. So like that. And it looks like we have proper collision, so it should work. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I want to go to my arena level so I can test this out. Let's make sure we can just play to begin with here. Alright. Really wish these flipbooks wouldn't play when they're off on another window. Just annoying. It's like stuff in my vision. So, what do we want this to look like? We need to go to our player, logic object. So what is this going to look like? So how do we have like ground pound? Yeah, we have ground pound ability and all that sort of stuff. The ground pound has different things. We have ground pounding, intro anim, exit time. Alright, so let us make some functions. So we want should aim ability. It should be aim shot ability. Let's put this under aim shot. We're going to want aim shot ability, stop ground pound active. Alright. this will be aim shot active. Okay, should aim shot, should return a should aim shot. Alright. So the question is, what button should we use for the aim shot? I think it's basically if you throw a punch and then you like keep it held down, or how do we want this to work? Well, why don't we start with just having a button for it, and we'll figure it out later. So I think I'm going to reuse a button, but I should just use a basic one. Alright, so these guys are just in here. Look at all that trash. Alright, yeah, okay, so if we are performing an action, we don't want should pound this, all these nodes. Is this going to let us do it? Should aim shot is not there. Yeah, okay. I like how it's not actually letting me change this. Fucking Jesus, really? It's not letting me change the name of this thing. That's crazy. Maybe it's because of the compile. Nope. It's because all these other things, and I can't do them more than once. Well, let's remove it. Let's add it back. Alright, so when are we going to do our aim shot? It should be, we should be able to do it in the air. So we don't need this physics state thing. So should we, like, be a good key combination? So let's see, we want the controls. Let's see, we want duplicate this, we aim shot control. What do we have for this? This will be right shoulder action. I mean, pretty much I just want to... Do we have anything on left shoulder right now? I don't think so. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to have a simple thing to start with. So we'll just do the left shoulder action, and we want to know if is key down. Yeah, and controllable. Alright, so we don't need the axis value because we're not using the axis value. So it's really just if the key is down. So let's just do that. Alright, let's see. So we got that. Aim shot ability. So aim shot ability should aim shot. And how do these other things work? It's like if we should shoot, if we are not already ground pounding, yeah, that sort of stuff. So we need another variable here. So this will be aim shooting. And what did we put that under? Just aim shoot for category. So we'll call clear abilities and then lock animation and all this sorts of stuff. So it's gonna look like this. Alright, so if we shouldn't, we'll have to do another branch with this guy. It's be like if we are, should ground pound. If ground pounding is false, then we return. Yeah, okay. So it's pretty much this aim shot ability, so if we are not, then we just go ahead and return. Otherwise, what do we have? If you're on the ground, then no, we don't want to do any of that stuff. This is the wrong function. If on ground, ground pound active. Lock animation, ground pound exit, play with loop ID, get FX, ground pound recovering, ground pound active. So we don't need to do any of that. Alright, set ability use. Alright. We just have one, and then we have uninterruptible, so that's fine. So what was I doing with this? This was set aim shooting to nothing. And yeah, we'll clear our hit map. Actually, we're not going to have a hit map for this thing, so it doesn't matter. And what did I call the animation? I called it aim shot charge. And we want the intro animation here, so this will be aim shot charge anim. What do we start this off with on these other guys? Started at -1. It's also spelled charge, right? Alright, so we'll interrupt ground pound intro anim time. We want, this one was 0.2, so we'll need another variable here. This will be aim shot charge time, which is a float. And let's give it a 1 second right now. Alright, so the ground pound ability also sets all this sorts of stuff. On ball losing attack, record touch attempt. So we're also going to need the aim shot anim, and we'll also need an aim shot anim time. Hello, Matthew 1871. I'm working on a new ability for this thing, which is basically, it's kind of a noob ability, but it'll have its uses. Basically, the issue is we want to put something in there for an ability that takes a long time to execute, is easy to knock somebody out of, but is very effective. So basically, an ability that I believe what we'll have it do is kind of stop your player where they are, and it'll then have your character execute a punch that, if it connects with the ball, sends the ball into the goal straight. So it's like a straight, hard shot that will kind of magically make things work. And it's going to be like a slow wind-up for the shot. And I'm kind of thinking through the ability while I make it. But basically the idea would be something along the lines of, if this is kind of the play field and we've got a goal here and we want to get the ball, into the goal. I haven't played too much Mario Strikers, but kind of, I think. Basically, if your player is here and you want to hit, ball into the goal, you just punch the ball and use physics to kind of get it there. But instead, the person would maybe jump up and, go Super Saiyan for a second and then hit the ball. The ball is like coming in from here, and then at the right time, instead of the player timing it right perfectly with like jumping up and hitting it, they can just release it at the right time. So I don't know, I want it also to be something where, if you have the ball here and your dude is right here, the same thing where it hit it straight up there. So if there's somebody that's, like trying to get to you and they're far away, you can just kind of do the mulligan. So yeah, I don't really want to do a reaction mini game for that. And like, I think I remember you basically set up a shot and then people are like, oh man, he's setting up the big Bowser shot or whatever the hell. And then, that's kind of how that game worked. But their whole mechanic around that was for, scoring goals for everything. So this is more of This is more of a situational thing where somebody will be able to easily knock you out of it. So it's more of a positioning skill. Like if you're actually able to execute it, then you win. The problem will be there's some questions such as you charge up this ability and you charge it up and like like you're on a hill and you're sitting here and the ball just like rolls down the hill and your person like charges up and then whiff. Great, good fucking job. That's not helpful. If we had the ability where you just like ran after the ball while charging it up and then you could release it at the right time, then that kind of defeats the purpose of having it easily telemarked and easily knock people out of it, because you could be kind of outside of the fray a little bit and you could kind of wander over. So I need to experiment with it. Yeah, all the ability work, pretty much everything else is kind of already set up, so I don't have to do a whole hell of a lot in actual C++ code. So most of the abilities are in blueprints, so I don't have to get too dirty. Of course, I'll need my actual I'll need a new thing there. I'm currently working on some animations for weapons. Excellent. Well, that sounds like fun. Some weapon animations, like firing animations, reloading animations, all those sorts of things. That's always some of the interesting stuff, the amount of work that actually goes in to make all that realistic. Go out on the... Yeah, fun, that's the word, yeah. Go out on the gun range and figure out take some video of reloading and everything. Have some fun with it. Yeah, that's kind of the idea also, is that if everybody's like in a scuffle and you get like 2 seconds by yourself, you can just nail it in there. And it's kind of like, shit, we left him alone. And right now, a good player is able to take advantage of it just a couple seconds. Like you leave Jeff alone on the hardest goal in the game, he's going to make the shot. But new players, that's not the case. And in fact, it's kind of, it takes too long. The other problem is that we've got is we do have the stump goals. So, we have these stump goals where you need to get it in the top. So the question would be, if we use this ability and the ball is just like rolling down the hill at you, what the hell is going to happen? Is it going to hit it up at that perfect arc? That's kind of not the best. If the ball was coming down, would you do this ability like you jump up? If it held you there, you could definitely execute the attack and it would just slam it in there. That's probably the best way to do it. So you'd have to pop it up, but that's really just that goal. And that goal is supposed to be that way, so it's not an issue. Yeah, doing safety fires, like weapons. Sadly in Canada, not so much into weapons and nothing really close by, so you have to watch countless military videos. I feel like not putting on a watch list. Yeah, well that's one cool thing about living in the States, is if you want to go do weapon stuff, you'd be like, there's a range, go rent a gun. It's cheap as hell. You just gotta pay for ammo. Yeah, basically, Adam, that's kind of what I'm thinking about is it's just, when you hit the ball, it's going to go straight for the goal, in the middle of the goal, and that sort of thing. So the question really is, if you were down here and you started charging up and the ball falls down, does your character actually like, does it take the middle of the goal and be like, okay, the ball is here, the player is here, the middle of the goal is here. So what it would do is it would draw a line from the ball to the goal, and then it would position you like right here, and then your player would just execute the attack and just like bam, it's just in. So it'd be like, but that's the blink ability combined with the auto aim ability. So I'm not sure about having a blink work. Because that would solve some of the problems of, maybe you jump up to hit it and you're just, like here's the hitbox for it, and you're just out of range so you don't get the hit, and you spent like a second or two. So maybe it's a limited range blink where it'll blink you just a little bit to the right spot. So if you'd have like maybe a couple feet, a very small stick, I believe. That's kind of what I'm thinking, is this turns into kind of a bicycle kick sort of thing, and it just like picks, and we can have a different animation for like Bitey does like a down kick if the shot's going down. Otherwise, he does like an up kick if it's going up, or if it's going straight, he does like, some like crazy horizontal motion shit to get it off to the right. So I'm kind of thinking that sort of thing. So I think a limited range charge. So the other question is, does he actually have a charging animation, then a dashing animation to it, or does he just blink? Just, poof, poof thing. And I think it'd be better just to blink, because Bitey's fast enough for that shit. We can just Dragon Ball Z behind the ball and have our way with it. That would be the other thing, would be that you enter a slow dash sort of thing. Like, your character revs up and then does a slow charge at the ball. And then executes the attack if you land it. The issue with that is, well, I'm not talking about slow in terms of time. I'm talking about slow in terms of speed. So, like, if you were on a decline and the ball is here, your character would actually take 2 seconds to charge up and then wouldn't actually do a fast charge at the ball. What if it was a slow charge? Like, it would actually take you like 2 seconds to get there. Because a fast charge, we're going to have to deal with collision issues and shit like that. Like, if we're not doing a blink or something else. Like, if there's a goal and there's like a magical barrier or some shit, and, your character would like teleport above the barrier to hit the ball and shit like that. So and if we had a kind of an actual like movement of the player up there might be something in the way preventing you from moving in that direction, which could really fuck stuff up. So I'm thinking just a blink with if the location is valid for you to blink to and it's not too far away, it'll just blink you. I think we'll go with that, unless you've got some other amazing idea. So what is our event graph? We have like on animation end, landing, animation end. It's been a while since I looked at all this. I don't know, I just like the idea of a short range blink just because of how simple it makes things as opposed to, you know, the rest of it. So let's just get the basics set up. We're just going to have it play the single animation and stop when it's done. Alright, so there are other functions we use. Is performing action. So we should see this guy play for 1 second now, I believe. So playtime set to aim shot charge time. That was left bumper. What is left bumper even mapped to? I think it's mapped to Q, so I should map this to, which is our auto crouch, so I need to change that control. Toggle crouch is left shoulder. Alright, so let's use left trigger. Frosty has. Hello, sir. It's been a while. You're working on your horror game, right? How is it going? Your typing isn't spot on. Alright, very good. Yeah, you can ask whatever. I can just choose not to answer. So left trigger is not doing what we want. Let me just see if that's... Left trigger is down. Controllable is true. So I must have it mapped to something else. Let me see what my defaults are. It's going really good? Very good. It's good to hear. Alright, where was all this? It was in like game data, probably. Alright, so we've got our movement axis, pop-up, game controls, kick punch. Let's see. Toggle crouch. Visual Studio locking up again when I'm trying to open up the things. I just found making it into the game industry, like what are they looking for in terms of a level designer. I have a few pics of my atmosphere. If you want to look at them, let me know if you have something that game designers would look for. Yeah, you can PM me if you got a link to some images or whatever. I can take a look and all that. But so you want to make it into the game industry as a level designer. So the question is, I mean, if you're making the game by yourself, so you're doing all the blueprints, or you're doing blueprint work and doing level creation and design, and that's pretty much what they want people to be able to do. Is, you know, if you sit down and make a level, it'll be like, all right, you know, we got the engineers and they've made these ability systems and all this other stuff for you, and you need to work with the tools that are given. Like that's the right idea. And code animations, yeah. So a level designer, what would I be looking for a level designer? Well, the Maelstrom guys were, I think they just filled a position where they needed a new guy. The Maelstrom guys, it's a naval combat game. They needed people to make more maps. And so, because the owner guy just didn't have enough time to make the maps. So rigging up currents and everything else. Getting into the industry is pretty much knowing people, to be honest. And getting the job before anybody else, before it even gets advertised. That's the easiest way to get the job. Like, they filled that map creator position by just being like, does anybody know any, you know, people who know Unreal 4 and can do design for this thing? And, you know, one dude raised his hand. He's like, oh yeah, I got this one friend who, you know, does the things. So, I mean, that's pretty much every industry. Like, if somebody knows somebody who can just come in and fill a position, it'll get filled. And there's no like malice in that. It's just, it's a pain in the ass to sort through a bunch of resumes and interview people. So, you know, that's just what happens. Where in the hell is everything? Okay, so map action, left shoulder action. Okay, so if I want to actually check this the shoulder buttons, I need to map this to a real thing. So I need to grab my controller. I actually do a left trigger. There we are. Surely there's a point there where they want to interview. Oh, it depends. Like, you know, if it's somebody you already know, they just basically walk on the team. Like, the industry is all about credibility. So there's our animation for our character charging up their attack and then doing nothing. Sorry, if you have any links, you're going to have to send them to me in chat and all that. Let me see. So, yeah, just send it to me directly in Twitch chat, and I'll take a look at it and pull it up if it's anything interesting that can be shown on stream without giving away horrible spoilers. Hey, that's people have been known to do that. So I'm that's definitely like I haven't. And if it was just like porn links, that's one thing. But it's more of like people in Twitch chat will post racist links more than anything else, is what I've seen. So it's not like they send you some like, check out my website and it's just like a picture of some naked girl or something. It's be like, no, check out my website and it's like kill all the Jews and you're just like, really, man? Like, I get it, the internet's like that. So what you got going on here is you've been working on this horror game. I just need to kick off a build here real quick. Oh man, it reminds me of like Condemned, where you're all underground and you have all those horrifying people. Oh man, lighting needs to be rebuilt. The bane of all Unreal 4 developers' existence. Was that a prison? I mean, it's got to be a prison. It's not like a basketball court has that sort of barrier on the top of it. Follow the cables. What's going on over there? Is that some parallax occlusion, mapping, distortion? Yeah, I like the look. I like There's a lot of detail on the materials and the places with lighting. Looks like you've put a lot of work into getting lighting working the way you want it to. Oh man, this person was just so thirsty, but they couldn't make it to the dirty puddle to drink. That's so sad. And yeah, it does look like a prison. What prison does this look like? I guess just every prison. Yeah, lighting is hard. As you are not wrong, sir. Lighting is like usually you'll have a lighting guy who just does lighting because there's so much to do with it. That's it's just a real pain in the ass. So the question should be, where'd you get your assets? Did you make your assets, or did you go to the store? You're working with somebody else who made all that? Lighting is easy. Just use ray tracing to render your scene. Welcome. The trolls are out in full force. Yeah, Frosty Eyes was talking about how do you break into the industry as a level designer, and he sent me all these pictures of the stuff he's been working on. I can't see that. All right, there. That's loading. So let's see. You've got this guy. He's just hanging out. It's a simple, just a guy hanging out in a. I guess there's a bunch of crosses here, but there's like it looks like a flower garden, and then it's all stoned over. So who the hell are they burying under? Like we hate this guy so much that we put a walk path, over his grave. Where's the shadow from the dead guy on the walls? should be up there somewhere. There's no sky. Thunder and lightning in this scene that is synced up. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, well, I'm definitely getting the horror vibes from the game. Looks like everything fits together. It's like insane asylum prison. Is that what's going on here? Easiest lawn to mow, concrete. It's true. But then when you do have a problem with concrete, that's when it's more of a pain in the ass. And my music has stopped working. What the hell? Well, it definitely looks like you've done a lot of really cool work. It looks great. And you've got a bunch of different scenes there. Like, looks like you got some traveling scenes, like underground, some sewers, some different locations. You got the inside and outside of that insane asylum prison. And you got like a couple dead bodies. I mean, that's a horror game right there. You just need some dude in a Barney suit to run after them, and or some Teletubbies to jump out and scare people, right? That's it. That's all you need for a horror game. I have not worked on horror games. You might be able to tell that. Why is my touch attempt not showing up here? This should have aim shot on it. What is this? It's a Brackensack touch type. Maybe it's an actual Enum? Dashkin. Yeah, it's an actual Enum. Whoops, I'll have to fix that. So from what you showed, could you answer the question? Which is, I'll just reread it. I want to ask, making the game industry, like, what are they looking at in terms of level design or a few picks of your atmosphere? If you want to see them, well, you know, something that game designers will look out for. Yeah, definitely, like, if you were interviewing at a place, showing this as a, hey, check this out, this is an example of work I've done, that's exactly what they're going to be looking for. A lot of being able to do stuff without too much hand-holding and crap like that. Alright, it's going to be BTT aim shot. So, like if I was hiring somebody for a team to make content for a game, that's exactly what I'd want to see. You know, like a lot of the stuff where you look at it in some of the materials and, you know, like the occlusion mapping looks like it has artifacts and stuff like that. That's not a problem. You have artists that'll, you know, make better materials for that. Lighting guys will help with some of the lighting and the fog and all that stuff. It looked like you're trying to do fog and atmosphere in indoors, and it looked like it was outdoors. So, you know, there's that. But that's just a lot of, you know, you'd say like, it needs to be this, and, you know, artists and other stuff would definitely come in and give you other tools to work with. I'd have to know, because a lot of designer work nowadays is using the tools that engineers and other people construct appropriately. So basically what you'd also look for is you'd look for, well, how are you connecting things? Like, let's say you have a door that's if you have a door that's opened by something else, like how are those hooked up? Are those using events and blueprints as opposed to just like fetching some other thing and having some complicated weird ass system? If it's just like a simple nice, oh yeah, well the door throws this like event 5 which this thing listens to, and that's how it knows what to do, so it, you know, I don't have to do a whole bunch of random bullshit to get it to work. So that would be kind of the next thing I'd look at. The other thing, though, is as far as I know, like the question I had were, yeah, heavily inspired from Amnesia. That definitely, that's what I was thinking of when I saw that sort of stuff. Would be working with other people. So one of the main concerns, like, let's be honest, if you're going for a job in the game industry, you're probably going to have most success on larger teams because they need to hire more people. So, you know, like, if it's a big game studio, they're hiring a lot more people than a small game studio, right? It's a numbers game. They'll have more positions. So theoretically, you're going to be talked about. People are going to be talking about, do you work well with others? Have you ever worked with an engineer that provides you tools? How would you deal with a changing system out from under you? Like, abilities worked a certain way, now they work another way. You know, have you worked with other people? And if you make the entire thing, player actually grabs the door, it's not press E, door opens. Yeah, okay. So the question would be, some people can make stuff by themselves, but can't use other people's technology. So the question would be, if you made it by yourself, were you using all pre-made assets from like the asset store, or were you making them yourself? And kind of a point in your favor would be using some pre-made assets off the store, because that shows you can read the manual on an asset and use it. John is streaming? Alright, later Synachron. So that would be my other concern. If you can carry on what you're doing, people will be impressed. I mean, if you ship it and sell it for money, like there would be no question. It's like, okay, let's say we hire this guy. It'd be like, well, worst case, we can just put him in a corner and tell him to make games, and he'll make games by himself. Like, you know, we know he's going to show up and do work, and if he doesn't ship our game, he'll ship his own game. So, you know, that sort of just like, you are a competent person, you know, can't be questioned at that point, right? Like, that's one of the things you look at for, I think, designers, and right, is like, are you making games on the side? Do you do those sorts of things? And if the answer is like, oh yeah, I run a pen and paper Dungeons and Dragons campaign,